Shalom, everyone. You knew it was coming, and here it is. The Jewish episode, starring Robby Hoffman, who's a stand-up comedian and a writer for the Chris Gethard Show, which she's currently nominated for an Emmy on, and David Yarus, who is the founder of Jswipe, the super popular dating app for Jews and other people. Okay, let's get going. This episode on How Come.
How come? How come? How come I can't achieve? How come I can't achieve? I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm rolling up my sleeves. Oh baby, I believe these guests can help. 'Cause I can't do it by myself. I wanna just...
So I'm sitting here with Robby Hoffman. She writes for the Chris Gethard Show. She's currently nominated for an Emmy. Congratulations.
Thank you. Daytime.
Usually I'd have somebody here clapping for you. David Yarus, he's running a little late.
He's a rude dude. I'm happy we haven't intersected. I'll say that.
You're happy that you haven't
intersected? I don't need to meet.
Well, this whole episode, like I told you, I already came. So now I'm really trying to explore other reasons why people not come or repress their sexuality, is how they grew up. Some of that's family. Some of that's the school you went to. A lot of it is religion. I grew up in the Jewish faith, not super religious, but I do like what I know about Judaism, and I do dislike some of what I know as well. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of wanted to delve into, you guys both obviously have different experiences with Judaism. Mm-hmm. David founded Jswipe. We'll hear from him when he gets here, if he gets here. Mm-hmm. And you come from parents who went super religious at one point. Mm-hmm. And... can we say?
Yeah.
She's gay, you guys.
Yeah. I like one lady right now, but yeah, I'm gay.
Amazing.
I blame Jewish men. I
like
think
David
it's
Yarus.
not, yeah, like I mean...
Ooh, the sound of that fake doorbell that I put in post-production means that David Yarus has finally arrived. Like I said, he founded Jswipe. Jswipe is essentially Tinder for Jews and non-Jews and, people that want to date Jews. It's Tinder for Jews. But he's here, and he also founded Millennial, which is...
Millennial is a social media agency, and we do a lot of work in the Jewish community. We do the marketing for Birthright. We've done some work with the Jewish Federations, Israeli Consulate, Hillel.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. We were making fun of you a little bit for being late. Neither of us are attracted to Jewish boys, mostly because she's gay. And
that's not mostly because. That's not mostly because. No. I just don't think Jewish men are great.
What are they?
Jewish men turned me gay. There's no question. I was surrounded by them.
You told me before, that you've had you tried it on with guys. Both Jewish, non-Jewish.
I don't, and this is as a Jew talking about Jews. Mm-hmm. I also don't appreciate a non-Jew having this kind of dialogue about Jewish men not being within the faith. I think it's a very insular conversation that we can have from a knowing place. Mm-hmm. So don't pile on here that you're like, I hate Jews too. No, that's not what we're doing here. We're talking about our community, from within the community. Yeah, which is kosher. And I want to clarify that I don't think Jewish men aren't great. I don't think they're attractive.
Right.
But I think they're very good at other things like comedy and different things.
And accounting.
Very, very good at accounting. Yeah.
They're very great doctors.
I just want to say I'm really happy to be here with you guys.
I'm so happy that you arrived.
It's funny because I
thought you were going to bail on us.
Bail on you, girl, never.
We've done foreplay.
An hour.
So had I known, of course, that our honored guest would have a hard stop, I
got a haircut at 5, to be fair. At Maria's Hair Salon in Greenpoint.
I have a hard stop. It's okay. I just want to talk about sex and love. Have you ever felt pressured by Judaism to stay within the religion or to only have sex within the religion?
So essentially, I feel like I have pretty much had a free-range childhood. Like my parents sort of let me just do my thing, and I had very little rules, and I luckily turned out loosely okay.
Yeah.
The only rule that I feel like I have in life, one, is I have to marry someone Jewish.
Okay.
And it's been a really weird and funny experience because while I know that that's sort of a truth for me, why I accept that is a different story, which we can, dive into, but I'm still processing through it.
Totally. Were you guys super religious, or were you?
It was it was all I would say all across the board. So when I grew up, really young, no, but then middle school, my parents got more observant, and so then yes. for a while. The community I live in, I'm from Miami Beach, Florida, so the community that I grew up in was like pretty religious.
Okay.
Do you know Sam Friend?
The name sounds very familiar, but I'm not sure.
Jewish geography happening live on the pod.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
But then anyways, so that's like the one rule. Yet, if I'm being honest, which we're going to be honest today, the most powerful connections that I've had almost entirely have only been with people who were not Jewish.
And is this men? Do you date men?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. They're great people, I'm sure.
Yes,
Right.
they are.
Okay. Because a Jewish man, like when you say date, like marry Jewish, I'm a lesbian Jewish person. Would you, like, that's nullified if it's gay, right?
Is it?
Like to your parent, like let's say you're gay. Let's say you're gay. A Jewish man does not help your parents out. Just to clarify for our listeners.
Why? Yeah, to clarify for the listeners, you want to be
heteronormative
married to a
Jewish
woman
marriage.
because then the children will be Jewish.
Yes, but I think that my friends who are gay and Jewish probably have the same pressure
Oh, really?
Right.
of marrying someone Jewish.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it's, I feel like, I don't know, so I don't want to speak for them, but I feel like at least some of the people I've talked to have a similar pressure. Yeah.
Interesting.
As a lesbian, if I'm with another Jewish girl, we can have double the Jewish babies.
Yeah.
Right? If it counts on the mother.
Yeah.
So then they go, oh, okay.
Well, that's
how
good
many
for the
can
team.
you have?
Yeah.
Okay, it's 2 wombs. Can you be pregnant at the same? We could.
Yeah.
Okay. Now
Okay.
we can talk.
All right.
Let's talk. This
Sounds
sounds
good. I like
Do you know
it.
what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
like literally like, so they do ask that question.
Yeah.
And then it becomes like, okay. And now there's like a Jewish sperm bank.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's like okay. If you're serious, we're serious.
Yeah.
We can open this joint.
That's
There's
awesome.
Jewish boys in there. They need some cash. So it's really, really funny that like, it's like, well, what are you bringing? What are you bringing? Let's talk.
I've had friends say to me, oh, I wish I was Jewish because you guys are so much more accepting. Is that true?
About gays?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think actually the Jewish religion, as far as religions go, is pretty good about gay.
Okay.
Even the more religious sects of it are starting to deal with it. There are Orthodox gay rabbis, for instance.
Really?
Yeah, and the conservative movement, I think, is there. I think that there are openly gay, conservative practicing Jews. And I don't think that exists in Catholicism or Islam or any other major religions that I can think of. I think
a lot of Jewishness, for me at least, has been about the culture rather than the faith.
Yeah.
The only thing that I've really loved in the faith is that my mom was always saying, question everything, which is very different from how some of my Christian friends grew up, or how even more religious. All the Jewish friends, even if they've been super religious, have been like, yeah, you're supposed to question and study and learn all the time, which might be a reason that we adapt to different societies, because we're not
question what's always been
how do we
done.
fit in and be successful.
Yeah. No, you hit it on it. I think that's why I'm not even qualified to hypothesize about why this is.
Sure.
I would have to say for myself, maybe it's because we've had to adapt moving around in the world. We've been wandering. We've had to just dump in a place and see what fits and what works and what we have to lose and what we have to, within still keeping our community. And if we're going to lose this big population because people are gay, we'd rather not. We weighed those consequences, say, how can they fit in this? What do we need to update? And the most ultra-Orthodox sects of Judaism have not gotten there yet.
Right.
But there are a lot that have. And the fact that they even recognize that gay people exist is a huge step in that.
Yeah.
And that definitely can change. There's a super ultra-Orthodox that it's, it doesn't even, the word doesn't come up still. So, but
for
I
you,
think
was
it's
it ever
getting-
weird? Like when,
it was great for me.
really?
Yeah, it was really fine. It was mostly my family was fine, and my social circle was what I was scared about for some reason. But that just had to do with, I was friends with a bunch of straight girls, and we would go out, and our weekends at that time were going out, getting bottles, with dudes and whatever. Like
Jewish
it was
girls
like
love bottles.
I was like in heels freezing outside and scurrying into a club that I couldn't hear anything in, And it was fun. And we
Yeah.
had, some orange juice, little cran, some Grey Goose. And
Make a few bouncer friends so that you can get in next
yeah,
time.
yeah. I was never the girl who knew
Or
the guy.
promoters.
But I was always brought, and I was always outgoing, and I would always hit on the guys. I would help my
nice.
friends. I had no problem going up to men and say, "What are we drinking?"
Yeah. And then
And we always had a good time. And I didn't sleep with anyone, and we would use them for alcohol, and we would go home.
did they know that you were gay at that point, though?
No, but they
No.
probably had.
Inclination.
Yeah, I think some people were shocked, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, it makes sense now. It just takes everyone a second. I also came out super young. I was 18.
I think that's super young for like our age, but now I feel like kids are coming out like
Yeah.
7.
Yeah. No, and I didn't know at 7. I'm not somebody who always knew my whole life. I also wasn't. I think when I was a kid, I was really a kid. I collected stamps. Like I was like a true
Yeah.
loser. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like my hair was like out to here. I didn't know what was flying. But I liked crafts, I did a lot of art. I loved any kind of a paint set. I did paint by numbers. I knew I was gay really when I fell in love with a girl.
Yeah.
And that sounds like crazy, but I was like, and then I was hoping, I was like, oh, I can't be gay, all this. It's like so much.
Who was the first person you told?
So I was actually outed. And it was like starting to get out that I was gay. So that was really terrifying to me.
How? Like, because you were
I was at this bar, Mad Hatter's, with my girlfriend at the time.
Jewish?
No,
Okay.
Italian. Very Italian,
similar,
Catholic.
though. I feel like Italians have a very
Italians
very
and Jews, I mean,
family
love it.
eating, be together, be loud, tell jokes.
Yeah. I feel very at home with Italian people. And
My boyfriend's Italian.
I like him a lot more now.
Okay.
You should have opened with that.
Okay.
But I love Italian people. And I think that we just get each other. We're very similar. And I know a lot of Italian Jewish couples, and I like them.
Yeah.
I don't know what, but she kissed me when we were not in the stall, which was against my rules. And this
Of course you had rules.
bitch, we'll call her Kelly,
Because that is her name.
saw us and basically told people. And then my friend Allie, an incredible friend of mine, actually, I'm wearing a bracelet from her. I got it 16, my sweet 16. She should have known I was a lesbian for this bracelet. But anyway, it says
like
Love
that
Allie, 2002.
So cute.
We were talking on MSN.
Uh-huh.
And she was like, I'm just hearing some things. I just want to let you know whatever I'm hearing, whatever's true, not true, anything. I love you. I'm here for you always. Nothing ever changed. Like, if you need me, I'm here. If you want me to shut up, I will stop
away.
talking.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to know that.
Yeah. That's so nice.
And I wrote back, and it was like amazing to talk to her. And I told my friend David Kaplan, who now lives here.
Shout out to David Kaplan.
David Kaplan, his wife Essie, expecting their first. We're very happy.
Mazel.
Mazel Tov.
And then you told family after that, I assume, or?
Oh yeah, I told my family very matter of factly. My mother at this point, we were secular, we were, very culturally Jewish, but
So
not,
they came back to your parents?
my mother did. My
Okay.
father is Hasidic. I don't have a relationship with my father
Okay. So how did they first enter into that?
in the 70s. My mother explained. She's like, well, everybody was getting into something. I'm like ecstasy and like fun shit.
Yeah, like Quaaludes.
She's like, if you're asking if I had any friends, the answer is no. I'm like, okay, here we go. I can't. But this is a community. She was on her own a lot.
Mm-hmm.
My mother is incredibly bright, in a book smarts way, in a very highly intellectual way, and this was something that spoke to that. It really
And they were married at the time? Or?
And my father was the same, really, really bright in this way, and this was a thing that they could engage in studying, things that they were both passionate about, and they liked the philosophy behind it and all this, and they met and they were engaged within weeks and had 10 kids by the time my mother was 30.
Damn.
But yeah, I think
And then your mom came out of it when?
I mean, she's still, she's on to something else. My mother now does like,
They're not. They haven't been together in
No.
years.
My father's still Hasidic, but my mother, I think, falls in love with communities. I've talked about this before, but I think she's always still looking. She loves still to learn.
Mm-hmm.
She loves this. So she's somebody who went back to school, got a degree, and she finished that. Well, what else can I read? What else can I suck up? What else can I, and my mother has read probably everything anybody's ever read. It's really insatiable. And now it's Jews for Jesus.
Okay.
Though she claims it's just messianic, it's not full on, but it is. She falls in love. She's excited. She even has like the new in love vibes about her. You know what I mean? She's excited. She goes to her group and she read this thing and
it's
that
like
thing.
An addiction almost.
It really is,
Yeah.
and it's to me, it's harmless at this point.
Yeah.
We looked up how much is Jews for Jesus raising. They're not doing very well on the money side. I don't think they have more than. They don't have enough Jews, I think, doing that. And so it's like harmless. So she wants to give $20 a month to these people. We're like, okay.
Yeah.
And she's happy and it helps her. And my father, who was terrible, growing up, when we would have terrible things to say about him, she would say everybody does their best.
Really?
Like she's never said a bad word about anyone. So I'm always wondering who she feels she needs to be saved by. I know I'm like a huge guy. I love it. We're like, what's the hot goss? Like that's like
who sucks today?
Yeah, like literally. But she's just literally a really kind and amazing woman. She left my dad and we were still religious for a while.
Okay.
We didn't overnight. We were still doing everything.
So it was because of
In the
him,
home.
not the religion.
Yeah, he was just wretched,
Okay.
but also the religion, also the clamored hand down. It was a very tough.
What was like the
we
day
were
to
ultra
day?
orthodox, so it was everything was monitored in my mother's life, and her kids' life and what they could learn. And I think she thought, she found the education to be limited for her boys, especially because it is. My brothers. The boys go to Yiddish yeshivas and don't learn secular subjects. The girls, not being holy enough, being second-class citizens, we got, by nature, my older sisters learned math and English and some level of social studies and things like that because they weren't holy enough. So there was, my mother who
But that's gonna
loves
help you
education.
out
My mother who's such a believer of learning was kind of taken aback by the lack of in my brothers. So I think that was one thing. There was an inherent racism that was happening, that anybody outside was bad. My mother grew up a nice Canadian girl. Mm-hmm. So she didn't, in a secular Jewish family where my grandfather worked with people from everywhere. Mm-hmm. Cubans and Colombians and a melting pot that Montreal was.
Yeah.
And she grew up with that. And so the idea that everybody who wasn't this exact kind of Jew was inferior didn't work for her. And she started seeing, well, this is against some other morals that I had fundamentally. And it's a process, it wasn't an overnight situation. And a lot of our customs in our house, even later when we were in high school and more secular Jews than ever, we were still completely kosher. Mm-hmm. And for me, I thought that was secular. No, but we had two separate plates still. I was still the most religious of anyone at my school, even when I thought I was like secular.
Yeah. So wait, when she left, she took all of you.
Yes, we all left, which is for this community.
Big deal.
Really, she was an outlier. Our family was an outlier. But she had the support of her secular Jewish parents. My apologies. I have to take my birth control. That's what this is.
Sick.
Could you imagine? I don't take birth control.
Oh, yeah. I was... David Yarus. We were talking about how sex with Jews is different from sex with non-Jews.
I think sex experience is pretty fluid today.
Yeah.
And I have this theory that I might not be able to articulate very well. Mm-hmm. But I think dating apps and dating technology in general, people usually expect me to be like really pro and think that they're, the best thing that's ever happened to, the modern dating experience. I think that there's been a lot of great things that have come and also a lot of crazy and weirdness that's come with them and challenges. But I have this theory that I call like the sphere of experience.
Sure.
As it relates to life, but also specifically sex. And there are a couple of sort of fundamental, pieces of the theory. The first is that within similar like-minded groups or communities, I presume, although none of this is scientific, that the sexual experiences and explorations are relatively similar. Like the type of ways that people experience sex probably are, formed or informed through, their friends, their communities, how they grew up, et cetera. And if all those ingredients are the same, then the output would maybe be similar.
Yeah.
But dating apps have created this, intersecting and basically this crazy new hodgepodge of everyone meeting anyone from anywhere in your community or in your city, from all different backgrounds and all different walks of life and all different everythings. So people's sexual experiences, I believe, are now being people are more frequently exposed to a whole new world of things. And so through that, I think it's interesting as it relates to dating then, because if you have an experience, everyone's experience is whole, it's 100% for them. But if you introduce a new experience and you're expanding your sphere of experience, the rate that people are exploring different things based on technology and based on hookup culture and based on sort of the new norms of connection, relationships, whatever, I think our generation as a whole is experiencing things differently. So I couldn't pinpoint Jewish versus not Jewish sexual experiences being qualitatively this or that.
I don't know that that's even accurate, though. I think it's interesting what you're saying, and I agree to part, but I don't think that sex is suddenly new. I think there have been times in history that, thousands of people met in a field. And they blew their bubble that way. They expanded beyond their bubble that way. The Romans, for instance, or the Greeks. Lots of people were intermingling. Gay sex came about or was always there or whatever. I think we just now have an app instead of walking up to somebody in a club, which is probably how we, if my older sister probably would have gone to a club somewhere not in her neighborhood, somewhere downtown, whatever, and met a million different types of people too. And that hookup culture of her grinding with someone and going home was like the same as a match. If you had to like quantify.
My main question about that, though, and that's fascinating, and I should learn more about the historical experiences of sexual exploration, but is in the way you're saying it, it's the Romans had their thing, and then the Greeks had their thing. I think my thought process now is that because of technology,
it's everyone.
The Romans are connecting with the Greeks, are connecting with the
that's
Jews,
what I'm saying. That's
so
what I'm saying. They
scattered.
all met together, but just
it's a
outdoors.
Silk Road.
I mean that
excursion.
when we go to a club in the 90s, if you went to a club, that was everyone. It was the Greeks, the Romans, the Jews. It was just a different. It wasn't an app.
So this
is
the
went
new.
To a club.
Yeah, it's a new virtual space.
Yeah,
essentially,
it's just a virtual space where it happened. People went out and spent money. Now there's no money. There's no drinks. There's meeting and you know what I mean. So it's just a different milieu.
Well, what's cool about this virtual space, especially Jswipe and other apps that are similar, where it's saying, okay, you getting on this specific app, you're looking for this specific type of person. I guess you could go to a Jewish mixer or something and look, but you couldn't go if you were not Jewish to sign up for one of those things, whereas you can sign up for Jswipe if you're not Jewish, and you can look for a Jewish partner.
Yeah, we have, I think it's maybe about 10% of our community is anyone. And people ask me, like, are non-Jews allowed on Jswipe, which I think it's an interesting question that they even have to ask, because for me, of course, only because it would be so weird and like horrible not to allow someone to.
Right.
But I will say the users can control their filter settings for who they want to see.
Do you have to download it like 3 times before it lets you download it?
Very
That's
cute,
a conversion joke, you guys.
I love it. I love it so much.
For you guys who don't know, you have to ask the rabbi 3 times, and he turns you away.
How's the lesbian scene on JDate?
Great.
Yeah?
We have a really
I imagine it's
strong LGBTQ plus community on JDate, or Jswipe specifically, I can speak to.
Right.
JDate is with you too?
So JDate acquired Jswipe about 3 years ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think I actually knew that at the time.
It was a funny journey.
Okay.
And now I've never really thought, for the last 3 years, I've been thinking about millennial Jewish dating experience, millennial Jewish love, but now I've sort of expanded that scope to also just think about Jewish love holistically.
Totally.
Yeah, but it's great.
Is JDate older? Is it just like people who like? Is it like an
JDate was the one that was on the computer.
Like where you have
It
a
was like
full
the
profile.
Website. Yeah.
Full profile. It's
You had to pay
web-based.
for it.
It's pay. So it's like it's
pay.
both like it's
Do the
maybe
women
a more-
pay?
Everyone pays.
Oh my
It's
God.
like either a more serious dater or a bit older.
We've talked about things where you have kind of said that gender roles still somewhat exist.
Yeah.
In that the woman should be the one who should be lazy and stuff.
No, that's not what
Or
I
who
mean. I
can-
mean that it's like what I tell my little sister. I always say, your money is yours, and she makes good money. Your money is yours, and your boyfriend's money is both of yours. Because he can make twice as much as you, twice as easily. That's what I think because
Just
the world
because
is
of-
skewed
But don't you
towards
think
him.
it's getting more skewed now? Like it's
No, barely. We're barely inching.
Okay.
The dial has barely moved, and already everybody's huffing about it.
Yeah, I know.
It's like the biggest huff that's ever happened. So it's like, and nothing has happened. Still, like, there's 11 female CEOs of 500 Fortune 500 companies.
Yeah.
And people are like, and we went from 9 to 11.
Yeah.
And people are like really huffed about it.
Yeah.
It's obscene.
But
when
I
we
think
even
I
talk
like.
about
I
it.
think if we're thinking like comics right now, or in entertainment at least, like
Yeah.
people want women.
Yeah,
It's
because
like-
people want authentic. People want a real situation. We're not creating things for men. Just there's 51% women
Yeah.
who are watching.
Yeah.
It's business. It's anything else. It's like, why are we not having that? And I wouldn't say it's equal until the reverse happens for 300 years. Look, yeah, if women are the dominant, if there's a lineup with 9 women and 1 dude for the next 300 years, maybe then I'll say, okay, let's start to talk equality.
Yeah. When I got really desperate in college, I paid for JDate for a
I
month.
love that you were really desperate in college.
Oh yeah, I didn't have my first boyfriend until I was a second semester senior in college. So I was just like, someone love me and tell me I'm cool. And I went on JDate. I met this one guy. Shout out to Louis Gabovsky. We are not attracted
Louis.
to each other. We never were. We were just talking as friends. And then I ran into him at a club in Boston.
I love this.
And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he points at me, and we were trying to figure out where we knew each other from. And it was so stigmatized at that point that I ran up, I pushed him against the wall, and I closed his mouth, and I go, "Don't tell anyone where we met," because it turned out he went to my school too and knew all my friends.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because when we started Jswipe, we didn't really think that we had direct competition in terms of like which other app were we gonna beat out. Our competition was the stigma. So our whole focus and strategy was, how do we destigmatize swipe dating?
Yeah.
To make it, rather than like when back in the day, like you wouldn't tell people you were on like dating sites.
No.
It was like kind of like somewhat assumed maybe, but also like it was like low key.
Yeah.
Now it became like a funny, thing that's almost sometimes a social experience where you're swiping for your friends, or we've had grandmothers who swipe for their grandkids and it's like their
Yeah.
favorite like activity. Yeah, so it's an interesting thing. You talk about the stigma.
Because I think
Yeah.
that my older, not to bring it back to my older sister's generation, also she probably like, if you met somebody at a club, you didn't say we met at a club.
Right. I agreed.
We met through friends.
It's
You didn't
whatever.
want to say that you met, because that meant that you just like, it was a hookup culture too.
Mm-hmm.
That you just met this
And
dude.
some
you
of the
knew
best
nothing about him.
relationships, marriages that I know started with a one-night stand. So as much as people talk about stigmas and why they're stigmas, it's because no one's talking about it.
But Hasidic marriages, I mean, these are one night stands. 2 weeks, maybe
Oh.
they know each other. I mean, when you
Yeah.
think about it, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, one night stand. I mean, historical marriages are one night stands.
Yeah, you're right.
They fucked once and
Had a kid.
at the same day they got married
Yeah.
and met a week before. So
Yeah.
what's different about that?
That's such a good
I
point.
don't think it's a new thing in history. I think it's just that connection is an incredibly important connection.
Yeah.
That I think that we have stigmatized over years, but it's actually been how people have done it. Thousands of years, you fuck somebody, you married her.
Yeah.
That was like, we made love.
Yeah.
We became one, and in the Bible it says becoming one. Becoming one means having sex.
Right.
So when they became one, they typically got married.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that now it's like we've like come full circle. Well, that's not, you have to get to know and everything versus that's the getting to know in the Bible. That's what getting to know.
Yeah. I have known
means.
her,
So it's
to quote the Crucible.
just different taboos and stigmas that have altered and shifted and come back and
Yeah.
had to be re-normalized.
Well, I was going to ask.
Do you have a lot of that issue? People posting photos that aren't accurate?
So no, not really. I think it's because we're connected. Like we're connected through Facebook.
Facebook.
So for
Yeah.
us, Facebook has all these algorithms to like weed out fake profiles that were built on top of. So luckily we don't have so much of
It's
that.
just such a weird strategy if you don't look like your picture. So you show up. What's up?
Yeah.
What's next? So,
You're like,
okay.
do you like me now?
Surprise.
Yeah.
I don't even know where you go
Yeah.
after that. I don't know what the dating
It's
strategy
interesting
is.
because lots of dating apps have like talked about introducing video.
Yeah.
Because theoretically, I would say, I don't know, conservatively, maybe 1 out of 5 first dating app dates you go on, you're like, right when you get there, it's not that you even look different, but like right when you get there, something energetically, you're like, but then if you're a nice person, which hopefully most people are, like you're committed for 2 hours,
2 hours.
what an hour, whatever it is, you're like, you're there. And so people say like, if you were to introduce video, whether it's sort of recorded video or like FaceTime type technology, you would be able to remove that because you'd be able to suss it out on video before you book off an evening, then go somewhere, then show up to know if you could like vibe with someone through some like
it's so
communication.
easy to like misjudge someone's vibe, and then like, you're reading all of their texts and stuff like in a certain tone or whatever, and then you meet them and you're just like, I was wrong. You didn't even know what sarcasm was. You genuinely thought that was a country. Okay.
There should be like speed. Like I met my girlfriend in life, but I'm out a lot for my work, and I'm visibly lesbian, so I feel like women who are come up to me in a way that's not,
Yeah.
So it's been helpful and it's been excellent, but I would wonder, because I wouldn't stay 2 hours. I've been on a first date that wasn't through dating where I wasn't, and I finished 1 beer and I said, I'm not feeling it. I'm going to cut it now. And I met up with friends, and that's just what I would do. But if you could stagger like 3 people and they stagger 3 people, and so we have like a mini
mixer.
a mini, it's like no harm, no foul.
Like it like creates like The Bachelor or like Bachelor.
No, but
in
3-3
Paradise.
or like,
I
mini
know,
speed
but,
dating
someone's
almost.
gonna get left out or something. I don't know.
I don't
They
know.
used to have that. They used to have Grouper. Do you remember that?
I do remember
what's
that.
that?
Yeah. Did you ever go on a Grouper?
My buddy Jesse Morris was a big fan.
I like Jesse
That's
Morris
so
a lot.
funny.
Yeah.
I think I went on 2 groupers with Jesse, and I don't remember the experiences, but I remember the whole concept was cool because you're with friends anyway. So
Yeah.
no matter what, you're with your buds. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and you can actually, I think you can be more of yourself when you have a friend present
I
instead
love
of like
that.
this like first interview constructed version of yourself that you're like, what does she want? I'm gonna be that.
I feel like it would work well for Jews, and I'm now like stereotyping, but like
Yeah,
I have a
maybe
close
we can
Jewish
open
friend
another
group.
part of your platform.
Let's do it.
I think there are Jewish
Okay.
friend groups, like and I think like a lot of Jewish dudes hang out with Jewish dudes and
Mhm.
Jewish. I don't know. I feel like 2 groups. I
Yeah.
don't know. The one-on-one for 2 hours, I'm like out.
It's very hard. And it's not how we've been socialized either.
It's weird.
How often do you hang out with just one person?
It's
Yeah.
strange.
It's weird.
It's so rare that you meet someone who's like heart open and vulnerable and just approaches like the first experience, like just being
Yeah.
fully there with you, that just that attribute or that quality alone is enough to be like, oh my goodness, this person's amazing, which
Yeah.
is crazy because that type of approach should just be a prereq, that people should be with you and be present and just be there.
Yeah.
Then there's a whole lot more. The idea of,
I just feel like we've also learned a lot from pop culture that like you should be guarded because like we see people getting burned left and right. The divorce rate's gone up like exponentially.
I think if you have a really good hookup, like my friend David, shout out to David Kaplan and SC, who met on Tinder in Vancouver and married, expecting their first.
Mazel.
I think you should just have a really good hookup with someone, and that's a really good. Like I'm like not anti hookup culture, even though it hasn't been me. I've always been in monogamous situations, but my monogamous situations have started from early on, or
They
I guess
start
we're
from a
hooking
real
up.
attraction.
Real attraction, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that like I don't think it's
Pheromonal
a
attraction.
bad thing to have, to have.
I don't think it's bad either.
I don't know. I just think that there should be some decorum, and if you see someone you know right away the vibes out, you just leave.
I don't think I've ever had sex with a full Jew. Maybe one. No, one.
Mm-hmm.
And it
You're
was
missing out. I feel
it was not a fun experience. He was a British Jew. I intended for it to be a one-night stand. When he goes, Remy, why were you so willing to give yourself to me? And I was like, ugh,
Ew. What a mental kid. He's like deranged.
deranged.
He's like not well. I'm actually concerned for him.
Yeah,
I hope he's left us by now and is in a better space.
yeah.
There's no room for him on this planet. I don't. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I guess you can express physical attraction, but don't get it twisted with love. That's
no. The
my
first thing
thing.
you
I
have to
always
have
get
is
it
physical
confused
attraction.
oh, we're attracted and he checks off these boxes, we're going to get married. Because that's how I was raised with my Jewish family, is that like, you find a nice Jewish boy, you marry him, you make kids. So every guy that I've ever looked at as an option wasn't like, oh, this is going to be a guy for this time in my life. It's like, this is a guy that I'm considering forever, which I don't think is healthy. Like my current relationship, we don't really talk about the future. We don't really talk about, I mean, we talk about our personal goals, but we don't talk about like, I had an ex where we talk about marriage and kids all the time. And that kind of became like a placeholder for actual conversation. So I think it's good to just say we're going to make each other happy until we're not happy anymore, and then we're going to figure it out.
It's beautiful.
Thanks.
My friend Amy talks about this idea of every relationship being a bridge, whether it works or doesn't work. Either way, as long as you're able to learn and grow from what it is that did or didn't serve you in that relationship, and then move forward, like cross this bridge, and then have a new experience built on that. Yeah. Then it was a beautiful experience, and it's helped you learn and grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really. I think she's right. And I think that when somebody says love at first sight, like David when he met Essie or something like that, like it's not love at first sight. What it is was that thank God you had all those relationships and all those things shaping you and telling you what you would no longer tolerate, things that would not work. They're flags, they're flares that go up. And so when you do meet someone, you think it's love, it's not. It's actually your brain just going through that huge equation, and this fit through all those little red flags and flares that you've adapted to and that you've integrated into your process that have just made you feel like it's love at first sight. Actually, it's a very calculated decision that makes you feel that, I believe. So when I met my girlfriend and I knew we would be together for so long, and we are, I had all the experience of those failed relationships of what I wouldn't tolerate anymore, and I was still open to something I didn't know, but I knew what I couldn't do, and it fit through. So it did feel like electric like that, but I know that there was probably some of that behind it.
You had learned yourself and what you require in a person too.
Something that you said made me think about this idea. Another thing that's challenging for today, the dating culture, is that people aren't showing up as themselves. They're thinking more about what they think the
other person
version
wants
of
to
themselves
see.
that the other person wants to see, and they'll sort of tailor, and maybe they don't talk about this thing, or they don't tell that story, or they don't, whatever it is, because they're sort of toning that down to present what they think someone else would want.
Yeah, I noticed when I was on, I did all the apps when I was single, and I noticed that I would actually tailor who I was according to the app.
Wow.
Which is...
So wait, tell us who you were based on which app.
So,
Who are you on Tinder? Who are you on Tinder?
On Tinder, just like
fun,
like hot girl, fun.
Oh, love it.
Yeah, on
Swipe
Hinge,
right.
and something like with like a snarky quip, whatever. Yeah, on Hinge it was much more like pictures of my cat and my grandmother and stuff. On Raya, it's as artsy as fucking possible, trying to be fancy as shit. Just because you're trying to compete with the archetype of what the perfect
Raya
person that you're
seems
seeing
like the
on that
worst
app.
of all. Like,
Raya
I can't
is
imagine
terrible.
the
I
ego
have
of
one
Raya.
friend from Raya, but everyone else is such an asshole. And then Bumble. I think I tried to be a bit more boss bitch because I'm like, I'm going to be saying hi first, and like the people
it's
are
like you're
are
immediately a lesbian, not terrifying. You're like, hello,
and
he's like,
and because people on Bumble are more, they're less artsy than Raya. They're more professional. So
be yourself, yo.
I know. Well, now I mean. I think this past year, I've really grown into myself and this orgasm thing. I'm a whole new woman. Being myself has been the best.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Can we talk about your comment about like messaging first?
Hell yeah.
So let's talk about just generally communication standards. Like, do you feel comfortable texting first?
it's unacceptable.
So now you're in
You say it's unacceptable?
I think the men have to say hi first. I'm being heteronormative as a queer person. Maybe that's bad, but I don't think it's acceptable for men to forget chivalry.
So I agree 100% with chivalry. My question is maybe not on dating apps. I'm talking about like once you're
already chatting.
So you're not like you're already like deep in a relationship.
Yeah,
so take yourself back however long until like open like into dating.
Well, I was always calculating how much blue is there versus how much gray.
Okay.
You never want to be the one sending an
More
ocean,
blue than gray?
right? You don't want
blue-gray ratio.
What about
is
response
brilliant.
time?
right?
That's a really brilliant
like
concept
just blur
you should
your
talk
eyes
about.
if you see more blue. That's not good.
Yeah.
Also, if you're sending them more memes, that's not good because it means you're thinking about things that are important to them and they're not thinking about things that are important to you. But
timing. Like, do you
Timing.
wait to respond or just respond?
So
You played the game.
This kills
wait,
me.
No.
wait. I
Dating is a
disagree.
vibe.
I disagree with Robby, and here's why. Because I made this little dating manifesto actually, and I wrote it like 4 years ago when I had just gotten out of a relationship. So I thought I was guru on relationships, and like, you know, when you just get out that you think like everybody wants to date me now, and I have the secret. The secret was I was still dating like I had a boyfriend, and that's why people were attracted to me, because it was this standoffish yet really chill vibe. So I always tell people, when you are trying to date somebody, date them like you have a boyfriend. If you have something to say and you want to do something with them, or something reminded you of them, you have something to say, text them, say it casually or whatever. But don't say it so sexy that if your boyfriend found it, he wouldn't like that, because you don't ever want to be the one that's like instead of, hey,
This is
wink
so
face,
calculated.
what are you doing? No.
This is my favorite.
Literally,
You're not wrong.
I don't think I'm wrong at all.
No.
Don't text them at 2 a.m. Your boyfriend's going to see that. He's going to be pissed. Or your girlfriend. Don't keep the conversations that you have with that person on your phone. Delete them.
After each conversation, you delete the conversation?
I think after it's been like 3 scrolls,
Wow.
delete it.
And why?
Because, and I'm a girl, so this is
attached.
coming from me. You get fucking attached. You reread it, and
Smart.
you start to think this is something more. Even I'll go back and I'll look at tagged pictures of me and a guy or whatever. Untag them so you don't have them all in one place, because that makes it seem like there's a relationship when it doesn't really exist. So yeah, try and make the relationship not exist on the surface or anything or how you feel until it actually exists, and then give that person your all.
First of all, I appreciate. Well, you should like publish this or share it.
I was gonna
This is
sell
so
it to
excellent.
like, thank
it's
you.
like excellent.
maybe like as like sort of an addendum or a link on this
Ooh,
podcast.
and don't talk about it with any of your friends. I mean, like, talk about it with only one really good friend. Like, if you had a boyfriend and you wanted to cheat on your fucking boyfriend, you have one friend that you tell. Because the more you talk about it, the more real it is, basically.
I have a couple more questions for you though. So response time.
Whenever you're fucking free.
Okay, and if you're free and you see the text,
No.
And you respond. I would respond.
There's laws of attraction that we forget, and let's bring it back.
But
They've
the
been
thing
working on
is-
them for thousands of years. But I'm also a pretty conservative, even for all my queer identity and stuff like that. Like, I'm a pretty old school. I'm a neat person.
Yeah.
I'm also like, I don't know. I like decorum,
I
and I
actually
like a
wanna-
certain level of decorum in all facets of my life.
Yeah.
And so for me, that works. I don't want to be so comfortable that I'm just chilling with one of my friends.
Yeah.
You know, when we're like naked with each other, and I like that still. And we text each other back and forth all the time for sure, but I'm just saying that we also are cognizant too. Like, I don't know.
Did you watch The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
Yes.
Loved it.
Loved it, right?
too. Same.
Jewish comedian. The thing that struck me the most was when she goes to bed. What was her regimen?
She goes out, she puts her makeup on.
She goes to bed in her makeup. She kisses her husband goodnight. He goes to sleep. She runs to the bathroom, takes her face off, takes her hair down, does her cream on her face, whatever, goes to sleep, wakes up an hour earlier, puts her whole face on, and then gets back into bed and kisses him good morning.
I love it.
That's a Robby relationship.
That
I was
is.
looking at that being like, that is horrifying.
No, because he does his own things too. He takes her for dinner. He's having money problems. He keeps it.
Well,
He's
they got
got it.
divorced.
But he had to keep some decorum for, he wants to come with his best. She wants to come with her best. And I think that, and now they're back together. By the way, they're having hot sex again.
In
Like at
Maisel?
the end, you saw them getting together.
Did they?
Yeah, he
it's
snuck
like the
into
last
the
episode, it's
room.
like,
Oh,
they-
really?
He snuck in through the
Gotta
window,
finish it, 'cause you gotta finish
and
the
like
season.
he had
I
to
thought I
leave.
did. Maybe I fell asleep or I was
But you
too
know what I
high
mean?
or
They
something.
kept it alive.
Yeah.
So that's
Okay.
what he said.
All
I mean, it's
right.
a fictional show.
All right. So you had hooked up with both Jewish and non-Jewish men before
Yes.
coming out.
Yes.
And you had said to me earlier that you felt the sex was better with non-Jews.
Well, I haven't had sex. I was hooking up. I just
Okay.
mean the energy.
Okay.
I was still young. But I mean that I felt like there was some kind of like the non-Jewish guys were cooler. They were into having a girl.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and with Jewish boys, it was like they were the prize and they weren't the prize.
Mm-hmm.
And Jewish, I think like, one of the hardest things about orgasming or coming or whatever that you faced was you were probably with dudes where the focus was on them. And so you're thinking like anytime, like you're giving head, no problem. But if they go down, you're like, oh my God, it's too long. Like, how's he doing? How's he doing? How's he doing? Whatever. And you can't get out of your head. And they do nothing to make you feel better.
Right. Yeah.
Because they just actually don't like sex with women, I don't think. I think most of them are gay-ish. Or something. I think there's something wrong.
Maybe it's because women
For real.
are seen. So like we grew up super reformed. I know your parents were Hasidic.
Yes, my early childhood,
Okay.
I was Hasidic.
Okay.
And obviously there's a lot of suppression of sex, but there's also, sex is for procreation, and there also is an encouragement of it. So it's like twofold.
So it's not, well, I guess in Christianity it's similar too, where it's like it's encouraged because you want to have children, but just not before you're married.
Yeah, exactly.
I went to conservative temple with my grandparents a few times, and even there it was like very clear that women were second-class citizens.
Oh, yeah.
Because you'd be split up. You weren't allowed to touch each other. Like when I was on Birthright, I learned a lot because I accidentally went on an Orthodox trip, and we split into girls and boys, and all the girls went to a mikvah, and we learned all about that. That was interesting to me.
By that, do you mean like got in?
No.
Okay.
No, we were not. Yeah, you looked scared.
Like,
Would you
whoa.
like to explain to the audience what a mikvah is and the whole process? Because it's been 2 years for me.
Sure. By
Okay.
all means, first I'll say I am
Not
not
a
even close to a
scholar.
rabbi.
Yeah.
But a mikveh is a Jewish ritual bath that is used for thousands of years, but to cleanse and purify oneself at different occasions throughout the year.
And those different occasions are once a month when the woman is on her period. And I have mixed feelings about the things that we were learned in the mikvah, because the woman who was leading us through everything and teaching us was saying how her and her husband weren't allowed to touch before they got married. They were dating for 2 years. They couldn't even touch fingertips. And then when they finally did under the huppah, there was this electricity, and it's amazing, and it's something like they had never felt before. Then they had sex, and then it is his duty, I learned, to have sex with her whenever she pleases. Is that something that you think all Jewish men practice? Because I think they should.
Let's just go to the mitzvah, the commandment, or the good deed. In this case, maybe a very good deed. But anyways, I don't know many Jewish rules on sex, but I do know that it is a commandment that the man should please his woman at all times, whenever she'd like.
Does it say anything about an orgasm, or is it implied?
I think it's. Let's say that it is up to her to define what please and pleasure is.
So it could be like, give me a pedicure.
Yeah, people interpret it
Goddess worship
in all different ways. Yeah, down.
Okay.
So that's a biggie though, because people don't think of that. I
don't think of that, especially when I'm thinking of the fact that she has to dip herself in water and not fuck for 2 weeks or be touched. It seems like it's a juxtaposition.
Interesting thought on that, because I've always personally I've thought like kind of crazy, like that sounds a little nuts to me personally. But in speaking to people who practice it, they have told me that it's like one of the most powerful experiences in their entire life. Because if you imagine loving someone and not being able to be intimate with them for 2 weeks of the month, and then being intimate, and then not, it's like it creates this almost part of our earlier conversation. It creates almost this like ebb and flow of I don't know, chemistry of energy that so that's interesting.
No,
and as it relates to what you said about your birthright people not touching before marriage, like obviously I think 95% of our generation is not currently practicing that, but it's definitely something interesting. Like the concept is beautiful to me, in the sense that the idea that now everyone's so pretty, has a plethora of experience that they're taking into the bedroom with them when they get married. Imagine literally it was like the first experience and the only experience for a couple. Like, that's wild. Like, that's all they know.
Totally.
So it's interesting.
It
But
would be great if you end up in a couple where that person wants to experiment with the same things as you, and like you can have that open communication. But like, I don't know, it seems like a crapshoot.
yeah,
That,
true. I'm just
you
saying
know.
they're both interesting topics.
No,
but
definitely.
the most interesting one is that it's a commandment for the man to please the woman, and A, and B, it's a double mitzvah to have sex on Shabbat.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
And a mitzvah is
A good deed, a
deed.
commandment, and something,
Yeah.
that nice Jewish boys and girls should do.
so. And Shabbat is from Friday at sundown to Saturday at sundown. So I mitzvahed myself this morning.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Double mitzvah, technically.
I double mitzvahed
Yeah,
myself.
boom.
That's my new thing. There's no more masturbating. It's did
Double
you double
mitzvahing,
mitzvah
yeah.
yourself? Yeah. I think a lot of Jewish religion too is like, I could, yeah. I don't know if this is like 100% spot on, but it feels like a lot of it has to do with just what's logical and healthy. So like even foods that were made kosher in the beginning, like shellfish and pork and stuff, that's because those foods were dirtier at the time and more likely to get you sick.
Yeah.
Now it's like, all right, you don't really have to be kosher. So I feel like they're selling that, oh, you have to have sex with the woman whenever she wants. But then it's like, except for these half the month when she's about to have her period and a week after, and then she is dirty and you can't touch her at all.
Wretched.
The best thing to do for your period is to have an orgasm. It alleviates cramps. So do you think that that's a respectful view?
No, I think it's a misogynistic
Yeah. Okay.
view. I think it's men who made. There was not one woman on that committee.
Yeah. I'm not too tuned into most Jewish families and their sex lives, but I feel like my family was pretty open about it and not too shamey or not trying to. Do you think when you were like going through puberty and discovering yourself, was there helpfulness or were people being like, don't do that?
It's so funny because I have a couple of friends and a colleague who talk about like their youth growing up where like sex was just like talked about, like dinner table. It was just sort of conversations. Not really for us at all. Like we just didn't talk about it. Yeah. It wasn't shamey at all either, meaning there was sort of no positive or negative presence of conversation. It was just not discussed.
Did anyone teach you how to masturbate or did you figure it out yourself?
I figured it out by myself.
How did you learn about like doing stuff with girls besides knowing what you like? Like
We figured it out.
You were just figuring it out together.
Yeah, we just did whatever we wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it all was excellent.
Like fooling around like children, kind of.
No, it was like amazing immediately.
Oh, really?
It was very it was very, we
Emotionally
just
connected
played
too.
a lot.
Oh, that's nice. Was it her first relationship or?
I don't know if it was her definitely serious relationship. I mean, we were both 17. So, but she had been more experienced than I was, but I don't know if with women, I can't remember now.
Yeah.
And just were so connected. For before we even ever hooked up, the first time I hung out with her, we spoke 8 hours.
That's the best.
In a row. Like we had these long nights of just talking and talking. So there's a lot of time and emotional sex that goes into
knowing what to
women,
do.
I think.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like so much better. I don't like casual sex. I don't like to pretend to like casual sex.
Right.
I do like liking or loving the person
Yeah.
I'm having sex with. I just like having the best version of sex. So, and even if it's dirty or aggressive, I still like the emotion of all.
Yeah. Do you remember the first time?
So it's funny because when you told me that we would have to talk about that, I honestly don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think so. Ever since you asked me to join this podcast, thank you for having me.
Of
I've
course.
been then listening to them because I've been like, oh my God,
What am I gonna have to
what's going to
say?
happen on this conversation? And so I was listening, I forgot which one, like yesterday when like they were talking about like that, they were all talking about it. I don't remember talking about it at all. And it might just be a personal thing that it's like just generally not something I talk about, just like sex in general.
Did you go to Jewish school?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All I remember is one time, I don't know if it was the first time, that I called my cousin afterwards. I was like, bro, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. That's the feeling.
Yeah.
That it's like, I've changed. And of your 10 siblings, are any of them still very religious?
I have one brother, Schneer, who lives with my mother, who is very religious, but not as religious as we were.
And you still talk to him and stuff?
I do when I see my mom. Yeah, he lives with my mother.
Does he think any less of the rest of you?
No.
Okay. That's great.
He's wonderful, and I think the level that he practices and what works for him is helpful for his mental health.
Mm-hmm. I think religion can be really nice structure for
I think
people
it's good for him.
who are not necessarily lost, but who need it.
Yeah, he needs it. So that's the way I see it.
Ends up working out. Yeah, and you can schedule things properly. That's what most people in poly relationships say. The scheduling is the hardest part.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me is that I was only really first introduced to polyamorous, word culture experience like 2 years ago. I was on this Israel trip, and then there was this someone on the bus that was like talking about it openly. I find that people who are in that community are very comfortable and very vocal about it. And
well, they have to be. They have to be the example because they're new.
And something that he was saying, I was like, okay, so I have a question for you because I'm dating different people at once, and but I it is in the interest of finding someone. But nonetheless, like, how do you bring up when you first meet someone that that this is just how you do it?
Yeah.
And his response really blew my mind. He basically said, "Listen, I've been living in New York City for 5 years. Pretty much every single I know is polyamorous. They just don't
say
admit it."
And it's the honesty thing.
Exactly.
That's right.
I was like, oh my God, that's so true.
If we just go into it, okay, we're in this open relationship.
I think it's so much more respectful, honest, open. It's most of my friends who are single are dating multiple people, but culturally we don't have that conversation with these people early on. And so then it's like, it's just weird. But if it was just more open about it, to your point, I think it would be a lot, clearer for people to understand where people were at.
Do you think that fits into Judaism in any way? Or do you think that our forefathers would be really embarrassed of us and not want us to participate in something like this?
Well, I'm trying to think like OG Judaism forefathers. I'm pretty sure they
had multiple.
I think they had
wives.
situations like that going on. So
that's
I don't know.
I was leading you to water.
I don't thank you so much. I don't think they would be too disappointed. I think they might be like, oh, interesting, comes full circle.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think for me, it's all about people are who they are, respect and love difference, and whatever makes someone happy, fulfilled, and living a meaningful experience, whatever that means to them, right? Is beautiful across the board.
I love that. I think we should end on that wonderful and happy and heartwarming note. Thank you so much for being here. Where can people follow you on social media?
Social media, I'm at David Yarus, Yarus, across everything. Hit a brother up on Insta. It's probably where I'm most active. And then also, Jswipe has really funny content. Shout out to my girl Steph on the team who curates and creates some of that. So
your
it's
ads
funny.
have been funny around town too.
Appreciate that. Yeah. J-Date. And anyway, spread love. My mantra for this year is possibility and abundance.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Robbie, I just have to ask this at the end of every episode. Did you finish?
I blue balled it.
Oh, you blue balled it. All right. Goodbye. But thank you for being here.
Yes. Thanks for having me. Nice meeting you. Good Shabbos.
Shabbat shalom.
All right, and I just have to be courteous to you as well. Did you finish?
Most definitely.
All right. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's not you, it's me. I try so hard to finish honestly. They say you'll know when you go all the way from A right down to O. Oh no, I think that I still got a ways to go. Oh, I'm sick of this and I have got to know. How come I can't achieve? How come I can't achieve? I'm rolling up my sleeves. Oh baby, I believe these guests can help. 'Cause I can't do it by myself. I wanna just.
So where is this dud?
He said 7 minutes.
You see, this is the problem with Jewish men. We're two Jewish women waiting here. I've come here on time at 2:00.
You came 5 minutes early.
Because that's the way I am.
Yeah, and I almost didn't have time to put my little schmear plate together.
Do you see how great Jewish women are getting? Look at this plate she put.
Like matzah,
no, like
white fish, tuna fish, egg salad, and cream cheese. Beautiful.
Like, they're getting better. I look at my sisters, I'm like, oh my God, these are incredible women. My Jewish women friends, phenomenal.
No, we're getting better all the time.
It's just, it's like,
I'm proud of us.
Really proud of us. Like, women are not coming.
Yeah.
They just are not. You're not doing it. I'm happy to give a lesson.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I did. You know what? I have given 2 lessons to 2 Ryan Abrams. I drew him once. We went really through it, but he was the kind of guy who was like, "What I want to know." What he was great, and I really, I think
him
my
through
trip,
what oral.
yeah,
Okay. Nice.
and just like where he should be focusing and different things like that.
Had you done it yourself before, like while you were
Yes.
instructing him? Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. Before I even lost my virginity, my hetero virginity, Ryan, I had a full girlfriend.
Oh,
Because I was 21 with Ryan here.
Okay, yeah.
And then, but I had already been with my long-term first girlfriend.
Okay.
But I decided I wanted to make sure.
You had sex though with a male?
I had sex 3 times.
Nice.
But like literally, I think a total of 5 or 6 thrusts.
pumps.
And nobody came in either situation. It was actually in New York. I lost my virginity to my good friend Ryan Abrams, who I'm still very good friends with. Him
Shout
and his
out to
wife,
Ryan
Mazel
Abrams.
Tov, excellent people.
Baby on the way?
Soon, I think they're gonna try soon.
Ugh.